Love it. This is so
All of his co-workers
weird.
were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
You remember this, yes.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
I gotta take the bucket with me.
Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Ah, then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Yeah, I wonder if we bring the bucket back here. This game is just so bizarre.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ah!
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What the... The office is flipped. Ah, you can't take the bucket in there. I think it might just do that sometimes, if I remember rightly from the original. It just sometimes flips everything just to fuck with you. Right, I need to go... need to go down, but without the bucket, so I can actually get the figurine.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon,
Figler
you'll
and
collect
Marines?
the last one. And then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Lorines. None of us can.
Figler and Lorine.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I want it to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for?
I can't remember this ending. Oh, no, I do remember this ending.
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
It's so beautiful. Whoa. Space games.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Leaving the happy place.
Oh, no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, I will check out the Bugsnax DLC. I got to think about it. It was just a free update, wasn't it? It wasn't a paid DLC or anything.
Good, good. We can't be too safe. Promise me you won't go back there. Just stay here.
I think I played Bugsnax on the PS5, if I remember rightly, so I gotta get on that one. Yeah, we did fall down this giant fucking hole before and didn't get hurt. So, and then he's like, oh.
No. What do we talk about? You're risking everything we achieved here. Are you are going to stay here, aren't you?
I can't remember how many endings are actually.
You heard me before, didn't you? You will die. What about this isn't getting through to you? No! Oh, thank God you lived. No. What are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that? Yes. Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Wish there was an achievement in this game for getting every ending. Just as like a Oh, you did get them all. 8, 8, 8, 8. I can't remember the 8. I vaguely remember like the 8 ending, but like I don't super duper remember how you get it.
No, perhaps not.
Yeah, we can't be happy about the bucket. Gotta have the bucket.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
I love the narrator. He's so good.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
So there's like a couple of endings you can do with the bucket, and then there's some ones you have to ditch the bucket to be able to get.
My God, the bumpscosity in here is absolutely overwhelming. 1,000? You people have got to be nuts. How can you stand this much bumpscosity?
$1,000? You people gotta be mad. Let's pick the other ending, shall we, in this area?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and
Bumpscosity.
realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do
So
you think? Are you
blurry.
sick of this gag yet?
Why is it so blurry? It's like the autofocus is like stuck itself on really blurry. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Okay, buddy. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Aren't you lovely?
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why
Yeah,
he
this
is
exists in
in
the
this
original, doesn't
parable
it?
and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. you too will become quite unbearable.
That was beautiful. Get me out of here. Ah.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
Yeah, sometimes the floor's just covered in paper. I remember that from the original. It just gets covered in paper occasionally. Right, so what else did we have? The stairs. So possibly...
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
Go to the meeting place, essentially.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Stairs. Something to do with the stairs. Okay, I would assume it's by the boss. Maybe.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yeah, there it is.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
There'll be something. There'll be something. I wonder what this ending's like with the bucket then.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort.
Uh-oh.
And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket?
Oh my God.
This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket. Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next.
So many buckets.
None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along.
Oh, God. That joke.
It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
I fucking love these bucket endings. They're mad. That's so good.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked
up
up
her
her bucket
bucket.
of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was.
Didn't have his bucket.
This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Well, I'm glad she backflipped all the way to work.